Do you ever feel a little bit nervous before you take a trip wondering if you'll be safe? Join the club. It's normal. But with the travel security tips in this video, you can rest assured that you'll have a great time and you and all your stuff will return home safely. But first, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to Nomad Visas and turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with all our latest and most exciting content. Tip number 1, use street sense. Some people call it common sense, but it's not common sense because it's not innate or natural. It's learned. But once you learn it, it just becomes a way of being. And practicing the next few tips will help you develop this street sense. Tip 2, don't look like a tourist. Unfortunately, looking and acting like a tourist will put a big target on your back. You're easy prey. And in some places, especially if there's an economic disparity, being a tourist is a sign of wealth, which makes you even more of a target. The next few tips will get more specific about how you cannot look like a tourist. Tip 3, don't look at maps in public. These days, most people have maps on their phones, which are a little bit more subtle. But if you're using a paper map or even if you must consult a map on your phone, get at least a little bit out of the public eye and make it quick. Tip 4, act like you know where you're going even if you don't. This is especially important in dodgy areas or if you have that feeling like you're being watched. Keep your head up, your shoulders back, and walk confidently to somewhere where you feel more secure about pulling out a map or asking for help. It helps to act like you know where you're going even if you actually don't know where you're going. You can get a general idea if you do a bit of research before you leave your accommodations. Tip 5, stay aware of your surroundings. This means not using noise-canceling headphones or actually any headphones at all if it means you can't hear what's going on around you. Besides, you're traveling. Aren't you there to experience your destination? Then experience it. Tip 6, try to blend in. If you can, dress like the people around you are dressed. Don't have a big, expensive camera around your neck. No flashy jewelry. For that matter, don't have any articles of clothing, gear, or apparel that would bring unwanted attention. Tip 7, there's safety in numbers. Sure, in a crowd, you might be more susceptible to pickpockets and such, which is something we'll discuss in a bit. But by walking where people walk and staying with crowds, you're going to be less likely to be a victim of a more serious crime. Tip 8, skip the shortcut. Along the lines of safety and numbers, if you see a shortcut on a map or just in front of you, if a lot of people aren't taking that shortcut, there might be a good reason for that. A good rule of thumb is to simply make sure that wherever you are in view of other people. Tip number 9, stay in well-lit areas. It may be cliche to say that bad guys are lurking in the shadows, but sometimes they really are. Again, in the spirit of staying in areas where other people are, if you're out at night, stick to streets and areas with good lighting. Tip 10, always carry your hotel's business card or write down the address of your Airbnb and just keep it in your pocket. That way, even if you get lost or your phone and or wallet stolen or you get into a taxi and they don't speak English, you can get back to where you're going very easily. Speaking of taxis, here are some taxi etiquette to take the luck out of the travel equation. Tip number 11. Take a picture of the taxi license plate and cab number before you get in. Not only can this help you report the cab and driver if something bad happens, but the driver is going to see you do this and they'll realize it's not in their best interest to take you for a ride, so to speak. Tip number 12. If you have stuff in the trunk, wait for the driver to get out before you do. If you arrive at your destination and immediately get out of the cab, the driver could conceivably take off with your stuff in the trunk on purpose or by mistake. If you're paying with cash, you can also wait to pay them until you're both out of the cab and you have your luggage. In fact, don't put stuff in the trunk at all unless you really need to. Tip 13. Don't get into a taxi with more than one person in it. Sharing taxis with locals may have you, the tourist, ending up paying for everyone's ride. And much worse can happen, so be safe and away from the horror stories. Tip 14. Don't keep all your cash in your wallet. If you're shopping in a marketplace, just keep some small bills in your pocket so you don't need to pull out your wallet at all when you're out buying stuff. That way, if a pickpocket has their eye on you, they won't actually know where your wallet is. And if your wallet does get stolen, at least they didn't get all the cash because you had some of that extra cash in your pocket. Tip number 15, consider a throwaway wallet. If going somewhere where there may be a higher chance of being robbed, be it walking or taking public transportation, have a throwaway wallet with a few useless cards and some cash. Many tourists get killed fighting against a robber. A throwaway wallet will satisfy the robber and keep your real wallet safe. And with no reason to fight, this may even save your life. Tip number 16. At your hotel, don't use the "Clean my room" sign. You're telling the whole world that you're out for the day. Instead, call down or stop by reception on your way out and ask for your room to be cleaned. Tip number 17, carry a rubber doorstop. This may be especially good for solo female travelers. But a doorstop will also give any traveler time to call the authorities when danger is at your door. If you're staying in a hotel where the door doesn't close or lock properly and you feel insecure, a simple rubber door stop on the inside will prevent anybody on the outside from getting in. If you're staying in a hotel where the door doesn't close or lock properly and you feel insecure, a simple rubber door stop on the inside will prevent anybody on the outside from getting in. Tip number 18. Take pictures of all your IDs, credit cards, and stuff. Keep these secured in the cloud. A lot of people say they just email themselves copies of their IDs, but email is notoriously insecure. And anybody who cracks your email just received a gold mine of information. So you can kiss your identity goodbye. Instead, use a service like NordPass. All you need to remember is one master password, and you have access to all of your documents, super secure passwords, and more. You may also share the master password with somebody at home for extra security in case something happens to you and need their help. If you are an online entrepreneur, you can also share online access to certain accounts with team members without actually having to share your passwords. Check the description below for a link to NordPass. It's a total game changer. You can up your security game, and you can also help support the channel. Tip number 19. Speaking of online security, always use a VPN. Airports, hotels, and coffee shops are playgrounds for hackers. Even if the Wi-Fi connection has a password, anyone who has ever been on that Wi-Fi has access to your computer or phone while you're on that network unless you're masking your IP with a VPN. An excellent solution is NordVPN. One click and your online security is totally protected. NordVPN costs literally a couple of bucks a month and can save you a monumental amount of grief and money if something went wrong. Check the description below with a link to a special NordVPN deal. Tip number 20. Carry a photocopy of your passport at all times. Technically, foreigners are supposed to have their original passport with them 100% of the time. But honestly, it's safer and more practical to secure it at your accommodation and just carry a photocopy. Worst comes to worse, if you're stopped by an official, you can show the copy. And if they don't like that and they want to see the original, they can accompany you back to your hotel or Airbnb. But having this ID with you at all times is crucial. Tip number 21, write down your travel insurance information on your passport copy. You never know when something bad is going to happen, and you have to have this info on you at all times. Having the policy number and the telephone number all written on that passport copy can save time and aggravation when needing to call the insurance company immediately, which has to happen if you want to make a successful claim. We hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a comment below if you have any suggestions or have any questions. Remember to like and subscribe to Nomad Visas for more travel information. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. By the way, do you have any safety tips you want to add to this list?